guys, Josh from SoccerReviewsForYou.com, bringing you the top 5 lightweight soccer cleats / football boots currently on the market. Now, here's the criteria for being in the top 5. 1, the weight. This is probably the most important factor here. The shoe has to be 7 ounces or less based off of a size 9, 9.5 US size shoe. So that is, again, under 7 ounces, which is very, very lightweight, both in hand as well as on feet. And secondly, arguably as important, it actually has to be a good shoe. It has to fit well, it has to be comfortable, it has to have good performance characteristics in general. It can't just be really, really light, but not very good. If that's the case, it's probably not going to make the top 5 list. So with those two things in mind, let's get into my picks for the top 5 lightweight soccer cleats currently available. The Nike Mercurial Vapor 11. This is the lightest shoe currently on offer from Nike, weighing in at 6 ounces in a size 9 US, which is remarkably lightweight. The Mercurial Vapor has been around for such a long time now. This is the 11th model, and in regards to what it has on offer, aside from being super, super light, is a fit that you really can't get from any other shoe. The way a Mercurial wraps your foot really, really tightly, leaving no extra space, not only creates for a true kind of one-to-one sensation in terms of touch on the ball, a really true barefoot experience, it also makes for a very responsive shoe where you have that instantaneous reaction time when you make quick cuts and changes of direction. That's part of why so many people really, really love the Mercurial line in general, more specifically the Vapor. The one-piece upper, I think, wraps your foot extremely well. You have the anatomically shaped Nike plate sole plate, which only adds to the overall responsiveness and lockdown from that shoe. And then you get the new Mercurial firm ground stud pattern. That is super, super aggressive. Probably the most aggressive stud pattern out there in regards to just overall bite when pushing off in pretty much any direction. So if you're looking for lightweight, tight fitting, barefoot feel, super aggressive traction, the Nike Mercurial Vapor 11 is not only a top 5 shoe, it's arguably the best at all of those things in terms of what's out there right now. The PUMA EVOSPEED 17.1 SLS. Not to be confused with the 17.1 SL, which is the shoe that does come with the 10-game warning sticker. Those are very, very good, but because of the fact that they last no longer than 10 uses on average, it's really hard to put them on this list. They're definitely the lightest shoe out there and a great experience overall, but a really hard shoe to justify and just recommend in general. The SLS, on the other hand, in a size 9.5 US, weighs in at 5.1 ounces. So it is by far the lightest shoe on this top 5 list and a very, very good performer in general. In regards to durability, it features a much more rugged upper than what you'll find on the very not durable SL model, but it does maintain the same sole plate and stud pattern that offers really good flexibility, really, really good traction. I think this is one of the best fitting EVOSPEED models we've had in terms of this particular form factor. The upper's been improved as well, offering a really nice barefoot touch. The shoe, for as light as it is actually very, very comfortable. And overall, it's a very good shoe if you're looking for something that is as light as possible, offers really good flexibility and general comfort in its respective weight range. So if you're on the market for something as light as possible, the EVOSPEED 17.1 SLS, I think, is a very solid option. The Nike Mercurial SUPERFLY 5. Now, this is a pick that probably isn't going to surprise too many people. This shoe, in a size 9 US, weighs in at 6.8 ounces, so it is almost a full ounce more when compared to the Vapor 11. I know that is probably the less popular shoe of the high-end Mercurials, but again, SUPERFLY 5 is still very lightweight on feet and quite a different experience in comparison to the Vapor. Obviously, you're getting the same sole plate and stud pattern, which, like I talked about, is very, very good, but the flying it upper and general mid-cut design of the SUPERFLY does, like I said, offer a very different experience. The upper is a little bit more padded and definitely does have a softer sensation in comparison to what you're going to get from the Vapor, and also does have more of a sock-like feel in general. It's not necessarily a case of one being better than the other. It's more so just a case of one offering a totally different experience, even though they are, at the end of the day, somewhat similar styles of shoe. So the Flyknit upper and the Flyknit material in general does kind of have its own unique softness and sock-like feel on foot. The lockdown is still very, very good. It does offer a slightly more padded touch on the ball versus the kind of raw, barefoot, pingy sensation you'll get from the Vapor 11. I know a lot of people like the whole mid-cut aspect of these Flyknit Nike boots as well. So if that's something that you're really into, the SUPERFLY 5 is definitely worth considering and a very worthy shoe of being in the top 5 lightweight boots currently available. The the Made in Japan Mizuno Morelia Neo 2. Now I say the Made in Japan model just because it is the best quality in terms of what's out there. It's also the most expensive, but if you go for the regular Mizuno Morelia Neo 2, the Indonesian made version, it's also a very good quality boot and stacks up very well against any top-end model from any of the more popular brands in North America. In a size 9 US, these shoes weigh in at 6.8 ounces, the same weight incidentally as the SUPERFLY 5, so a very lightweight feel on feet. But in comparison to all the other shoes on this list, it's also a fair bit different in that it's the only shoe with kangaroo leather on the upper. Granted, you don't get a lot of it. It is mainly in the toe box forefoot area, and it does have a thinner overall feel to it, more of a barefoot sensation in general. Nonetheless, if you do like the softness and general comfort of leather, mainly in the toe box forefoot, that is something that you can only get from the Mizuno Morelia Neo in this particular weight range. The shoe itself fits really, really well for being such a thin, lightweight shoe in general. You get a nice deep lacing system that allows for a very good lockdown. The lockdown in the heel also very, very good. And then a sole plate that has good flexibility to it. And a stud pattern that, I guess in comparison to everything else on this list, is a lot more simple. It's kind of a modern take on a classic conical stud pattern, but it does actually work very well. Pretty aggressive traction, very, very good stability. And again, kind of an oddball in comparison to the other shoes on this list. But if you are looking for something that is very lightweight and arguably, I guess, a little bit more uncommon in comparison to the other shoes that I'm naming here, the Mizuno Morelia Neo 2, more specifically the Made in Japan model, is definitely worth a look. The Nike HYPERVENOM Phantom 3 Low Cut. Now the reason why the low cut version and not the mid cut version of the Phantom 3 is because the low cut version, because it has less materials in the heel area, actually weighs a little bit less. In a size 9 US, the Phantom 3 Low weighs in at 6.6 ounces, whereas the Phantom 3 DF, the mid-cut variation, weighs in at around 7 ounces. So it does weigh a little bit more. Not a significant difference, but if you're going for the lightest possible feel, the low-cut version is the way to go, and it is my personal preference between the two variations of the shoe as well. I just find it to be a little bit more comfortable, a little bit more familiar, and the fit in the heel I find to be more secure with the low cut variation versus the mid cut. But again, that's more of a personal preference thing. Now with the Phantom 3 Low and the Phantom 3 in general, in terms of being on this list, it's probably the most unique shoe on this list in regards to the feel and general experience of wearing the shoe, in that yes, it is on the thinner side, but it's not really a true barefoot experience. The Flyknit upper is super soft, super flexible. I would argue this is probably the most comfortable shoe on this list as well, at least in terms of what I like. Again, that's more of a personal preference thing, but you have the pour-on foam inserts through the strike zone that kind of just take the edge off of what would otherwise be a fairly thin striking experience in regards to contact with the ball. The sole plate has a nice stable feel to it. It's very, very flexible. The stud pattern is fairly significant underfoot as well, kind of taking elements from the Mercurial line in regards to the chevron bladed style studs on the lateral side of the shoe, and just as an overall good performing, comfortable, lightweight shoe, the Phantom 3 Low is just a very well-rounded boot in general. And if you want something nice and light, but also don't want to sacrifice comfort and just a general solid feel on feet, I think the Phantom 3 in general is a very, very good option, and I would strongly recommend it. Alright guys, so that is it for my top 5 lightweight boots. Some honorable mentions and some shoes that I'm sure a lot of you guys noticed that I did not include. There isn't a single Adidas boot in this top 5, and that's because the only shoe Adidas makes right now under the 7 ounce range is the Messi 16.1, which while it isn't a bad shoe weighing in at 6.6 ounces, I don't think it's as good as the 5 shoes that I mentioned on this list. Another honorable mention goes to the X16 Plus Pure Chaos from Adidas, which is a shoe that I'm personally a big fan of. It's probably my personal favorite Adidas boot at the moment, but those weigh in at 7.2 ounces in a size 9 US. They're not under the 7 ounce range. Another honorable mention, also at 7.2 ounces in a 9.5 US, is the PUMA Evo Power Vigor 1. Big fan of those as well, but again, technically not light enough to make this top 5, which like I said at the start of the video, the shoe has to be under 7 ounces. So with all of that in mind, let me know your thoughts, let me know your picks, let me know your thoughts on my picks down below in the comment section. If you have any questions at all, I'll do my best to get any answers out to you. If you enjoyed today's video, found it helpful and informative, be sure to support it with a like. Subscribe if you haven't already for daily videos on all the latest and greatest soccer gear. You can find all of my social media information linked down below in the description as well. And other than that, guys, hope you enjoyed today's video, and as always, thanks for watching.